talked about these Medicare Advantage grocery cards that a lot of people have been depending on the last few years. The fact that the program that CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, has, so Medicare Advantage plans can provide those grocery cards, $100, $200, $300. Many people, millions of people have been using to pay for groceries, over the counter, rent, electricity, whatever the case may be. One of those big programs is going away at the end of the year. So it's not going to be available for 2026. There is another smaller program, and we've already got a lot of people in our community here that has notified us that their grocery card went away, or it's been reduced by about half or so. And then someone says, Jim says, I was given a grocery card, my insurance, and no place took the card. Yeah, so it kind of defeats the whole purpose of they give you $100 or $200 for a grocery card, and then you can't use it anywhere. So it kind of defeats the purpose there. But there's an alternative that a lot of people, for several reasons, don't take advantage of. They either don't know about it, they don't know how to apply, they think they're not eligible, and probably the biggest one is they feel bad about getting those. So let's talk about this. Our community, we have the best community on social media out there. So here's our mission, is to go out there in your community. Hopefully our community, we know you've already taken care of this, but there are many people around you that really, really need this help, and they don't know they can get it, or they feel bad about getting it, or whatever the case may be. So I want you to use all these arguments, and I'll use all the information we're going to talk about here today to go out in your community and help those people, particularly the people that lost those grocery cards and are going to have even a harder time surviving month to month. Okay, so what do we talk about in terms of the Medicare Advantage plans? So one of the things is that, as I talked about a few days ago, those Medicare Advantage grocery cards, how those health insurance companies give you that money is they're basically giving you that money back. You paid Part A, FICA, you paid into Medicare for decades and decades and decades when you were working. So that when you sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan, that's essentially what happens. Is the health insurance company goes to Washington and says, hey, Jim and Victoria and Keep Smiling and Nona Donna, whoever, has paid into taxes for decades and decades and decades into Medicare, give us that money. So they take that money, these private companies take that money, and I talked about a few days ago, about $1,000 a month or $1,100 or $20 or $2,000, depending on different variables. And they take that money and they provide your health care and stuff, but they also are able to provide those cards. So you got Part A, and then the $185 you pay every month for Part B, that also helps that company as well. So you're paying for everything. There's no free rides. You eventually pay for it. You pay for your Medicare Part A, Part B. You pay for your Medicare Advantage plan. You pay for the dental the Medicare Advantage plan provides for you. You pay for the food card that the Medicare Advantage was providing for you. So you're paying for it. Okay, so there's that. The alternative for those people out there is SNAP, food stamps, the old food stamps. Okay. And the reason people aren't going out there and getting that money is for several reasons. One is they don't know they're eligible. One of the things a lot of people don't get their benefits, don't file, is because, well, I've got a home and I've got a car, and therefore I'm not eligible. No. In all states, your primary home and your primary vehicle are exempt. So you could have $1 billion home and $1 billion car, and it's exempt. That's the way the law works. So you having a home, a paid for home, or whatever the case may be, in a car, one car, you might, if you have a second car, that's probably going to count that against you, depending on your state. But I always say apply, apply, apply. You never know what's going to happen, right? So those are exempt. And SNAP benefits, food stamps, do not have that estate recovery thing. And a lot of people think, well, I don't want to apply for food stamps. That's welfare. We'll talk about that here in a second. I don't want to apply for food stamps because if something happens to me, then they'll come after my house. No, food stamps doesn't do that. Medicaid, if you go into a nursing home eventually And if you don't live in a state that has those ladybird laws that you actively have to address, or if you don't have a irrevocable trust or something like that, the state can come after your estate, particularly your house, and pay for that nursing home care that Medicaid pay for. But food stamps, no, they don't do that. There is no estate recovery in food stamps, so don't worry about that part. And again, the house and the car is exempt. And I want to take a second to talk about, there's a video that was very popular over the last few days of a food line. And these are appearing throughout the country. Food banks are really, really struggling. It's tough out there. We all know that. But there was a particular food bank, I think it was in Florida or someplace, that you drove up and they gave you a kind of a box of food. And someone was taking a video of it and they were showing all the cars, and they're like, wow, these people have nicer cars than I do. You got some nice cars, you got some expensive cars and stuff like that. And they took that as an interpretation of, oh, these rich people are getting, essentially free food. Rather than, that's the way they interpreted it. Rather than the correct interpretation is, wow, this can happen to anybody, right? So what happens is, even on food stamps, the majority of people that receive food stamps only receive it for about 12 months, under 12 months. They get it, they lose a job, they get sick or whatever the case may be, they get it for a while, and then they get off it. A vast majority of people, they're not, these welfare queens, the welfare Cadillacs. I'll talk about that here in a second, that Ronald Reagan talked about, that, that they're on these programs forever. There are some people, particularly elderly people, elderly people are on these programs longer. Younger people, they lose their job, they get sick or whatever the case may be. They need help, temporary help. They got that help, and then they go out there and get a job. But when you're elderly, it doesn't usually happen that often. It's more difficult to get a job. So people that are elderly are on it longer. But most people, a vast majority of people that are not elderly, young people, people with families, they're only on food stamps for less than a year, and then they get off it. My family in the early 70s, I think we were on it for like 2 or 3 months. Mother lost the job, or the mother was sick, mom was sick, father lost his job all about the same time. It was terrible in the early 1970s. I think we're on food stamps for about 2 or 3 months and then never again. That's the normal process. So that's the social safety net out there. So rather than saying, oh, look at all these people, in these fancy cars, or these nice cars that are nicer than me, they're new cars, why don't they just sell their cars? Well, you sell your cars, a lot of, we're under or negative equity in our cars, and we sell our cars, and then we got more debt when we get out of this, a few months later. And you should really interpret that as, wow, that could happen to me. Someone has a good job, everything is going good, they buy a car for their family, interest is low, they're able to get a nicer car than they thought they could, and they're going beautiful, they're paying their rents, and they're paying their mortgage, and they're paying off their cars, and everything is awesome. And then the company decides to ship their job overseas or give it to AI or robots or whatever the case may be, and they lost their job. And they do as much as they can, as long as they can, but they eventually need help. So what the takeaway we should take from seeing that scene is, it could happen to everybody. And it does happen to just regular people that are out there, doing the best they can and living and doing perfect. And then life is what happens while you're making other plans, right? Okay, so it could happen to anybody. Most people get off it, within 12 months, except for seniors who are on it a little bit longer because they're unfortunately not able to go out there and get a job. So the stigma. And let me show you, in reference to Ronald Reagan's welfare queen, the welfare Cadillac. Let me show you the true welfare queen, the welfare Cadillac. This is the heiress to the Walmart fortune. Born first day walk, and they say that you were born and you were born on third base, and you thought he hit a triple. Well, she was born on basically home base, and she thought she hit a home run. Some people are born poor. Some people are born with a few $billion in the bank account. And Walmart and these big places, they pay, terrible wages. And people on Walmart, I'm sure you know people on Walmart, working at Walmart, that have to also get food stamps, that also have to get Medicaid through the state, because Walmart and other places like that just don't pay these people a living wage. So yeah, she bought it used from the Emir of Qatar. So yeah, it's too bad that she had to buy a used one. So I'm sure she's trying to upgrade it. It's $300 million mega yacht that was paid for for all intents and purposes, all of the subsidies for welfare, because doesn't pay the people that work at Walmart a living wage in a lot of cases, so they have to go on Medicaid, and we have to pay for that, and they pocket the money. So if you want to talk about a welfare queen, welfare Cadillac, well, let's talk about a welfare yacht. Okay, so to get food stamps, very, very easy. Very, very easy. In every single state, except for Alaska. Alaska's not there yet. You go onto the state website, and we're coming up with a program to help people navigate that whole process, but it's food stamps is relatively easy. So you go in there, you go onto the online website, you call the local, Department of Welfare, Social Services, or whatever case in your state, and you apply. It takes about 10 minutes. It doesn't take long at all. Remember, your first home and your car, that does not exclude you. In some states, if you have some money in the bank or something, they look at that. But in most places, you don't necessarily need documents immediately. You just go ahead and apply. And then if they need any documents, bank statements or anything like that, they'll ask you for it. But apply. That also puts money back into the local economy, because you're able to go out there, and buy food and all the rest of it. The process is super, super easy. Before I worked at the Social Security, I actually worked at the Department of Social Services doing food stamps and Medicaid. So it was actually a very, very fulfilling thing, because we had people. Usually, it was people that were subject of domestic abuse. So they had a situation in their home, they're doing perfect, everything like that, and then domestic abuse, and so they have to leave the home. And they leave the home with nothing except for, it's usually the mother and a kid or two or three children, and they need food. So they come in, super, super easy application, give them the little EBT card. And someone was on the TikTok a little while ago saying, hey, I was in line with someone, and they were out there, and they drove a nice car, and they pulled out their food stamps. And it's like, yeah, that person's lying, because they haven't had food stamps in decades and decades. You have a little EBT card, looks like a little credit card. You just swipe it. Just like you would swipe your Medicare Advantage grocery card type thing. So the stigma for that, we have to stop the stigma. Rich people, we always call them smart because they take advantage of the laws. And so they make more money. They take advantage of the tax laws by their tax accountants and tax lawyers. And we just say, oh yeah, they're smart. They just take advantage of the system. But when poor people that really need that help take advantage of the system, or welfare queens and poor and, parasites and all the rest of it. So it's kind of, it just doesn't make sense. So that is our mission out there, if you choose to accept it, is to go out into your community and help as many people as you possibly can, because millions of seniors are receiving SNAP food stamps, help with food, but it's estimated that about half of the people that are eligible, particularly seniors, are not receiving those benefits. So we are halfway there. Some people say we're only about 42%. Like the last numbers I said was about 42% of people that are eligible for this extra help to make their lives easier are getting them. So the other majority of the people, 58%, are not receiving those benefits. So we need to do better. We need to do better. And it's going to be even more crucial because of all the Medicaid cuts. People losing their Medicaid. They need to make sure they have something to, kind of compensate for that loss of that extra money they're going to have to pay out for their health care. So, and then with the big, beautiful bill, unfortunately, there's going to be estimates hundreds of $billions. The max I've seen estimate is about $261 billion being cut from food stamps, from the SNAP benefits. So that's even going to be more difficult. And a lot of this is bureaucratic disenrollment. Each state has to carry more of the burden based on the one big beautiful bill, and each state has to take more responsibility and pay for more of it. So these states are going to have a hard time. So they'll be raising taxes, or they're going to, cut eligibility, or they're just going to slow walk things, where it's like, okay, you are eligible, but oh yeah, we lost your application 3 times, and because we don't have any staff, and we don't want to staff the offices because we don't want you to get your things as soon as you need them, and so maybe you'll give up, and then we'll save a lot of money by not enrolling you in food stamps or Medicaid or electrical assistance or whatever the case may be. So the game is rigged against us, against people that are vulnerable, because we don't have, tax lawyers that bill us at $600 an hour, and, tax accountants. So a lot of people are out there on their own, except for people around our community, because you guys are awesome. Okay, let's get into some of your questions. And if you got any questions, if you've helped someone get those benefits, you've helped someone get Medicaid, food stamps, electrical assistance, remember, on my website, I've got also a lot of those different programs. So you go on my website, mygovexpert.com, completely free website, and you click on there. I have a retired Social Security expert that does one-on-one. That's the only thing we charge for there. But you click on the living on Social Security alone, and it talks about all the different federal programs, SSI, SNAP benefits there. Here's the SNAP hotline. You can call them up. Medicaid, Meals on Wheels, housing assistance, unfortunately, low energy assistance. A lot of that is going to be hurting. Section 8 housing, a lot of cutbacks there. Hey, the billionaires and the rich companies really needed a tax break, so we have to give until it hurts. So, all right, let's see here. Keep smiling. Guess they'll all be on their lives for a while because of the shutdown. Let's see which ones are protesting, see which ones are not working. Yeah, remember for Social Security, let me take this off. Okay, for Social Security, the offices have always been open because Social Security is essential services. People need their checks. There's a few workloads that Social Security is not able to do during a shutdown. And historically, what Social Security has done for those, usually about 5 or 10% of a particular office works on those workloads. So what happens in a shutdown is usually they reassign those people to other workloads that are essential. But there's talk about taking, the current administration wants to take this opportunity to fire a whole bunch of more federal employees. So hopefully they don't extend that to Social Security, and Social Security loses another thousands of employees, which they can't. People need to be able to file for benefits and, get their calls answered. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. Let me see, talk to Advantage today. They're telling me a person annual enrollment October 15th, December 7th. But if you decide you want to switch open enrollment January 1st, yeah, there is a separate enrollment period from January 1st to March 31st that you can change one time. So if you make a mistake from October 15th to December 7th and, you enroll in a plan and so, oops, I shouldn't enroll to that plan, you have a kind of a mulligan, a do-over January 1st to March 31st. But it's always good. It's good to do it right the first time. So the way you do it right the first time is make sure when you talk to whoever you're going to talk to, that's going to help you, make sure you have everything lined up. Your current plan so you can compare it, your providers who you definitely want to keep, your physicians, clinics, hospitals, make sure you know who those are and you find a plan that addresses those, your prescriptions, the correct prescriptions, the right dosage, the right price, a particular pharmacy if you want to keep it, your priorities. Do you need more dental? Do you have to keep this doctor? Do you want to save as much money on a hospital or whatever? And then have a little patience, because if you call on October 15th and don't care who you call, it's going to be a crazy one. They're estimating this is going to be the most, the busiest annual enrollment period in several years. And your new plan won't begin until January 1st anyway. So if you want to call our partners at Chapter, you can call them up, and they can definitely help you out. Nobody charges you for anything for help with this. In fact, you're already paying for that help, so you might as well go ahead and get it. So you go ahead and give them a call, take a little picture or whatever that. But whoever you talk to, make sure you do it right. But if you don't do it right and you mess up, then you can switch. But for that month, let's say you say, oh, shoot, January 15th, you find out that you picked the wrong plan. Then for the entire month of January, then you're stuck with that plan. You switch in January and your new plan will start February 1st. So, but just do it right the first time. That's always the best way to do it. So, my Advantage plan said they extended the negotiation with one hospital and 3 doctors. I have until January 31st, 2026. That seems strange. The contract was up, October 31st. I have a trust issue when it comes to these. Yeah, and it's difficult, for doctors. You call a particular doctor and you say, hey, I'm thinking about signing up for this Medicare. And with Medicare supplement plans, you don't have to do that, because if they take Medicare, then there is no networks for Medicare supplement plans. But Medicare Advantage plans, there's networks. So it's difficult. There is no perfect system, unfortunately, to confirm your doctors are covered. I've had, we've had people call up their particular doctors and say, hey, do you take XYZ Medicare Advantage company? And they say, oh yeah, we take that company. That company probably has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different plans. So your doctor takes that company, but maybe only half of the plans. They only contracted with half of the plans. The other plans they didn't contract with, or whatever the case may be. So it's difficult. Or you call up the office and you talk to the receptionist and you say, okay, do you take XYZ Medicare Advantage company? Yes, we take that. Okay, what about this particular plan? Oh, yeah, we take that particular plan. Unbeknownst to them, in the back, the doctor is canceling that because he's tired of being, receiving so small amount of money for every time you see someone. So it's a nightmare. And these doctors can cancel their contracts anytime they want, basically. A Medicare Advantage plan, Medicare Advantage plans are good for 1 year. So your plan is good till December 31st, and then January 1st, you get another plan. If you don't do anything, they just automatically enroll you in whatever plan you currently have, and you're stuck with whatever. So let me see here. What about the government shutdown? Will SSDI go out on the day when they are set? Yes. The Department of Treasury will still be open. The checks will still go out. The offices, hopefully, historically, they've always been continuing to be open. So, yep, you're good. Don't worry about that. Now here, what type of benefits are you talking? Okay, yep. Just if you don't get the first part, if you get here later, just go onto my my channel and you'll see these videos under the live tab. I've got thousands of videos there. What is the income limit to get SNAP? Each state does a little bit different. So, and they change on a yearly basis. So apply. It only takes 10 minutes. And if you apply and they say, no, you make too much money, then say, okay, in this particular state, what is too much money? And then you make a note of that. And if you're very, very close or something like that, you might be able to, appeal and say, well, yes, but I have this, and the other. They can make exceptions, exclusions, and stuff like that. So make sure they address all that. But if you're just over, if you're just over, and usually what happens if you're just a few dollars over, remember those thresholds change every year. So last year you couldn't get it because you made $10 too much. This year you might be able to get it, or next year. So apply. So working with Poor People's Campaign, it is health, housing, food, and crisis. Yes. That is the big issue nowadays. And with AI and all the rest of it, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. All right, let's see. There's no comparison of $14 a month SNAP versus $170 a month Advantage plan cards. Yeah, but food stamps, if you're single, the max, I think, nationally is about $291 or so this year for EBT, SNAP benefits. But yeah, if you still have your Advantage card for 2026 and it's 170 bucks, then awesome. But remember, with for 2026, the plan, it's called VBID, that's going away December 31st. So companies are still allowed to offer those grocery cards, but there are a lot more restrictions. You have to have a chronic illness and you have to document it. The company has to document it. The company has to say, hey, that you have the chance of hospitalization if you don't get this. And there's a lot more hoops they have to jump through. So if you've been getting $170 this year, hopefully you've got your ANOC, the annual notice of change, and it tells you whether you're going to get $170 next year. And then if they say, oh yeah, we're going to give you 170, they're probably going to reach out to you and say, okay, but we have to, jump through some hoops there to do it. So, let's see what else we got here. $2,000 free groceries is BS. Okay. Not if you need them. After my spend down, I'm $1,300 too high for SNAP. Yeah. Then yeah, I don't think that's going to change. There's they do the inflation adjusted numbers. I don't think $1,300 is, I don't think, unfortunately. Just cruel and horrible in the next life. Wonder what their life review will be like. Yeah. If I can purchase a property that will replace my rent payment, will that affect my current SNAP, Medicaid, SSI benefits because it's a new asset? If it's a second property, yes. If it's your primary, if you're selling one home, primary residence, and getting another primary, then you're good. But you just have to be careful with having any type of a money in an account. So if you sell a home and all of a sudden, you get a bunch of money that goes in your bank account, all the bells go off at Social Security because you have SSI, and the state because you have Medicaid and SNAP. And you just, you have to address that issue and say, yes, I'm downsizing, so I can, so I don't have to pay this. And so I got that money and I'm buying another. So it's kind of a spin down type thing. You have to make sure you notify people and make notes that you notified everybody because we don't want 6 months down the line, a year down the line that says, hey, you had money that 1 month. And therefore, we're going to make you pay back the last 6 months or last year. So make sure you notify those people and say, hey, yes, I just got a bunch of money in my bank account, but I am going to be buying a property here, another place for me to live as my primary residence. So, and then take notes and then put down, I talked to SSI, the Title 16 CS at SSI, his name was yada, yada, yada. I talked to them on September 29th at 3:29 p.m. And so make sure you make notes, and that way you can cover yourself in the future. So look out, people putting all kinds of BS videos. You get the facts here only. Smash the cap. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, there's a lot of clickbait out there. And AI is making it worse. There's companies all over the world that are making AI videos and talking about Social Security and, they get stuff so wrong all the time. Other YouTube channels that are here in the United States that you can actually see the person. I watch those every now and then. They give out incorrect information, and I reach out to those people and they correct it. So they're doing, better. But those companies overseas, it's just, we need grocery card ASAP. Yeah, a lot of people out there. Do you agree with Social Security Expansion Act? Yes, absolutely. Raising the cap on FICA, absolutely. Giving people that are really struggling an extra $200 a month, absolutely. Yes, 100%. Most of the people here on this channel agree with that policy. So food banks are cutting funding too. Trump has cut food bank funding too. Get your neighbor ready, safe, prepared to work with each other. Yes, Bella, one of our most beloved members here, always looking out for everybody else. Yeah, food banks are having a very, very tough time as well. So it's going to, I have an appointment to talk to chapter on October 3rd. They texted me, surprised me. Okay, good deal. All right. They followed up. And remember, on October 3rd, they and everybody else, if you're talking to someone about a Part D or Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplement, well, Medicare supplement, you can switch any time of the year if you can get out of your Medicare Advantage plan if you have that. But with a Medicare Advantage, they can tell you if your plan is the best and whether there's a better one for 2026, but they can't enroll you in that plan until October 15th. So that's a good way to, to kind of beat the rush a little bit. So good job. And always let me know, if they don't treat you right, let me know. I'm going to have Ari on here in a couple of days from chapter. And yeah, we always make sure they treat you right. And they've been doing a phenomenal job up until now. One of my friends was laid off by Doge from CDC. Said she was rehired and most of the people laid off are being called back. Apparently, Doge didn't really know what they were doing. They really didn't know what they were doing. Yeah, they were just taking that, was it the chainsaw and just haphazardly cutting people and stuff. And unfortunately for Social Security, yeah, they're not requesting people back because they don't want to request people back because they want Social Security customer service to be terrible. They want you to hate Social Security. And then you'll fall for their offer later that says, hey, Social Security sucks. They don't pick up the phone. The customer service is terrible. Let's just go ahead and give it over to Wall Street because we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas, but we're smarter than that. So politicians think we're really, really dumb. So please address Social Security recipients who live abroad. Absolutely. I've done a bunch of videos on that. I've got on my website, I've got a living overseas tab. So it talks about living overseas. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can live anywhere in the world except for North Korea and Cuba for Social Security, and then banking considerations. But yep, the big question is Medicare. You can get your money anywhere. That's not an issue unless, again, Cuba or North Korea. But in terms of Medicare, a lot of people say, well, if I'm going to be overseas, do I get Medicare? And that's a decision that you kind of really have to make. If you're never coming back, then, then more power to you, cancel. You can't cancel A, but you can cancel B, save yourself the $185. But if something happens and you come back, then just might have to pay the piper and pay a penalty for the rest of your life. So, but I've got all that information on my website there. So if you get Medicare, they charge $75 at the chiropractor. If you don't have Medicare and you pay $20, yeah, that's with everything. That's with all insurance. If you car insurance, you get a fender bender or something like that. You take it to a place and they'll say, oh, you have insurance, so we're going to charge $2,000. Oh, but if you want us just to grab a hammer and beat it out, we'll charge you $50. Yeah, that's question. How much is the increase in Social Security next year or COLA increase? We don't know. Nobody knows. But people love making videos on social media about how much it's going to be, how much they think, because people love to watch those videos. And so, but yeah. Thank you for the information. We're here in South Dakota. Appreciate your help. All right. Thank you. Yeah. So we're going to, Sandra, when we're coming out with our new platform, it's going to be by state. So we're going to need people, representatives from each state to kind of, keep an eye on stuff in that particular state. So I don't think we have anybody from South Dakota. So we're going to need your help to help as many people in your state as possible. So I'm going to keep working and get my medical coverage from work while I collect my retirement benefits. Perfect, Ventura Highway. So as long as you have creditable coverage, that means current work, current health insurance from current work, and that employer has 20 or more employees, then yes, you don't have to get Part B. If you start your Social Security retirement benefits and you're 65, then you do have to start Part A. That's mandatory, but it's, zero premium. But yeah, refuse Part B. Don't waste the $185. If you have current insurance from your work or your spouse's current work, and then, yeah, refuse Part B. And then 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later, when you stop working, then you go ahead and sign up for Part B, and there's no penalty whatsoever. So let's see, you got some other questions. They go according to your gross income, but people don't live off their gross income. Yeah, a lot of places, yeah, like Social Security disability and stuff like that, they go after your gross income. Same thing with retirement benefits. It's off your, your gross income and everything. So yeah. My son is autistic, filing for SSDI at 21 next year when CS ends, children's benefits. How much do I save for room and board for max? Yeah, whatever you charge for room and board. But for SSDI, that doesn't really matter. SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, is not a means-based program. SSI, Supplemental Security Income, that is a welfare means-based program, low income, low resources, and they count, certain things, offsets. But a lot of the rent and food, they stopped counting like they used to. They made a lot of changes within the last, 18 months. But if your son is filing for SSDI on somebody's record, so SSDI, probably not his own, filing on a parent's record, then room and board and all that, no relevance whatsoever. So I'm afraid if I live in another country, they'll decide to cut that for Social Security or Medicare. Yeah, I don't see them. Oh, you'd be a lot of torqued off people. There are a lot of expats, people that have immigrated to other countries and living overseas because it's cheaper to live overseas. Yeah, there's an attempt. There's a group led by one particular person from the Philippines, a U.S. citizen living over there that's trying to get it. I think he's gone to Washington a few times, talked to politicians, because there's so many expats, there's so many Americans receiving Social Security and Medicare that live in the Philippines. They want Medicare to be able to be used in the Philippines. So he's trying to push Congress to do that. I don't think it'll ever happen. Yeah. Medicare is already having enough time keeping up in the United States. So I don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately. So I went through social services to get food benefits. Just got a letter informing me they cut the amount from $292 to $79. I depend on it for groceries. Fight it. If you disagree, always, always, always appeal with every government agency, Social Security, social services, Medicaid, food stamps, Medicare Advantage plans. If you disagree with their decision, prior authorization, or you've been downgraded, or they, check. All of these offices, Social Security is at a 50-year low on terms of staffing. And it's even worse now that, Elon Musk and Doge took their, chainsaw to it. That's why they don't pick up the phone, and it's difficult to get customer service there. But Medicaid offices, food stamp offices throughout the country are in the same situation. So they're barely treading water. And a lot of stuff is going to be missed. And that's the intent, is to make it difficult, if not impossible, for people to get the benefits that they need. So if you disagree with that, if you got a new job and you're making a whole bunch more money, then, okay, all right. Maybe you got an inheritance, or you won the lottery, and okay. But if they just did it, willy-nilly, and you disagree with it, please fight it. Please fight it. So, Dr. Aylett, help me understand. I turned 62 September 5th and had an appointment 9/11. She said I could start my Social Security because she said I could not start my Social Security because I made over $23,400 and start in January. Am I leaving money on the table? Yes. All right. So this is Social Security 101. I don't know what she's talking about. Did you actually file? I don't think you actually filed. I'm hoping you didn't, because the issue is, if you go into a Social Security office and you talk to the people at the front windows, most of which are customer service representatives, they're generalists. Maybe they give you that wrong information because they're not what's called a Title II claim specialist. Title II of the Social Security Act that does retirement survivor benefits, Medicare, SSDI. If you talk to an actual Title II CS, a Title II claim specialist, then yeah, that person, should not be doing their job. That this is super, super easy. So yes, you can switch to the monthly limit. This is, yeah, that's, if you actually went through the claim and they told you that, then that's embarrassing for that person and for the agency. But again, they're, barely treading water over there, and maybe they're in their particular office. See, that was the thing about Elon Musk. He just fired people, across the board. And so some offices, you say, oh, my office is open. Well, offices are made up of 3 different departments. You got the generalists, you've got people that do Title 16, the SSI, the welfare-based benefit, and you got people that do Title II, retirement, Medicare, survivor benefits. And your office may have lost all those people, and now they're having people from other sections kind of fill in because they don't have, and I don't know what the deal is, but that's 100% incorrect. Remember, go onto my website, retirements, and what we're talking about is the monthly earnings limit. So if you make over $23,400 for this year, fine, no problem. But the first month you go under $1,950. So are you going to be under $1,950 starting September and October, November, December? If you're going to be under $1,950 for whatever month you start being under $1,950, Social Security and start your benefits. Next year, you have to be under the annual earnings limit. They can't do the whole, monthly limit twice. So if you're going to earn under $1,950 in gross wages, yes, by gross, or net income from, business, then yeah, you need to call them up and say, hey, I want to go to the monthly limit. I'm going to be under $1,950 starting September or October, whatever the case may be, and start your benefits those few months early. So, and then if that's the case, then tell them, hey, what's up with that person? Why do you have that person? Yeah, definitely. Saw my ANOC 2026, and it will be drastically diminished, including the over-the-counter card. I've switched to a supplement and plans to thank the Zane from Chapter. Thanks for your channel. Like, yeah, wow, thank you, Larry. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it. Let's see. Chapter did a great job. I was able to keep everything needed, wanted. Plus, they found me much more coverage for dental and glasses. Plus, double for the wow. Cheryl, I'd be interested in what part of the country you're in that they that for 2026 they were able to find more money. So usually, what I've seen across the country is generally diminishing, unless you were just in a terrible plan for 2025, and But sometimes people say, okay, it really depends on the year. So maybe Cheryl said, okay, for 2025. I'm going to give up the extra food card or the dental and stuff like this because I've got a surgery I need, and I need to save as much money as I can on those nights in the hospital. This particular plan has some extra good fringe benefits, but it costs $300 a night for a hospital. And I'm going to be in the hospital for 4 nights this year, my doctor says. So let me switch to this other plan that covers the doctor and everything, and it's only $100 a night. So yeah, that's a good thing to do it. You have to be smarter than the health insurance companies, which is not too difficult, actually. I got my ANOC letter on Advantage Insurance app. Yeah, you can get it online, or you can contact whoever signed you up, and they've got it online too. And they'll have what's available for 2026 online starting October 1st. So sounds like the world is doomed. No, if you go back in American history, we've had worse parts. We've had Congress people beat the crap out of each other on congressional floors, and had this thing called slavery, lynchings. We've had the Great Depression, wars. Don't count us out so soon. But how do we've gone through all of this? We've come together and we've looked out for our neighbors, and we've been more compassionate, the better angels of our nature. Americans are pretty awesome. As Winston Churchill says, Americans always do the right thing. after they've exhausted all possibilities. So we are in the all possibilities. We're going through all the other possibilities, and eventually we're going to do the right thing, I believe. But in the meantime, unfortunately, a lot of people are going to suffer. But because of communities like this, yeah, it's going to, we'll get through it. We'll get through it. So, and remember, that's what they want. That's what they want. They want us to look left and look right and attack each other so we don't look up. And so we just, and they want us to just throw up our hands and shrug our shoulders and just say, oh, forget about it. Do whatever you want. Yeah. But, in the immortal worlds of the immortal worlds of the clown on Living Color, homie, don't play that. Anyway, a great philosopher of the 20th century. Our Social Security recipients receiving $2,000 next month because of cost of living. I got a message from Google stating 2,000. Oh gosh, yeah, those online Google News things. Yeah, some people. The Social Security recipients for 2026 are getting over $5,000 a month. If you paid, Social Security determines your benefit amount by how much you paid over the high 35 years. If you paid the max over 35 years, you know, this year the max is $176,100. If you paid the max over 35 years and you waited till 70 to get those full delayed retirement credits, you could make over $5,000, probably next year, $5,100. So yeah, that's the trick on these social media and these clickbait things online. Well, it says 5,000, millions of Social Security recipients are receiving over $4,000 or $5,000. Are you eligible? Click here. And then, yeah, don't click there. South Dakota is where Scott Jacobs' art studio is. Oh, Scott Jacobs, not familiar. I was kind of in the art business for a little while, so I'm not familiar with Scott Jacobs. But anyway, I'm in Tennessee. I'm currently on SSI 2019. Will I ever be able to change to SSDI or SSI? I'm 58 with a lot of serious health issues. If you're on SSI, then when you filed for your benefits, they determined that you were not eligible for SSDI. So there's that. You won't be eligible for SSDI unless you go back to work, and it's probably because your date last insured or whatever the case may be. But even if you're eligible for SSDI, if you become eligible for SSDI because you work a little bit, your SSI is still going to be more, and one just offsets the other dollar for dollar, so you won't get an increase. However, when you turn 60, 62, if you're eligible for any other benefits, you will have to file for those benefits. So if you're 60 and you're eligible for survivor benefits, which you can start survivor benefits at 60, you'll have to file for those benefits. If you turn 62 and you're eligible for retirement benefits on your own record, or spouse benefits or divorce spouse benefits, then you will have to file for those benefits at 62 years old. So many ads on the stream. Yeah, that's unfortunately. Celebrity expats like Rosie and Ellen are pretty set. They don't need this financial assistance. Yep, that is a fact. Oh, they are expats too. I heard Rosie. I didn't know Ellen. Did she leave the country? I never got my letter from Medicare. What does that mean? Oh, your ANOC, your annual notice of change, they have until September 30th to send it to you. So if you didn't get it, it got lost in the mail, or the company didn't send it out, or whatever the case may be, just reach out to the person that you know and trust that's going to help you with the Medicare Advantage plan, and they'll tell you what your plan. It's better just to go ahead and wait until October 1st, and reach out to somebody and said, okay, here they can see what your plan is now. They probably won't talk about it because they're not about anyway. For 2026, they can't really talk about it until October 1st. So, and then they'll have access to all the other plans, and that way you can, in one fell swoop, check your plan for 2026 and also see what else is available out there. All right, we have some video questions. We've got quite a few video questions today. Let's see what we got.
Hello, Dr. Ed. I have a question. My question is, can I charge my adult child rent? She has a disability, and she's been living at home for 2 years, but I've come to the term that I do need her to start helping. And so I'd like to know if I can charge her rent And would this affect my health insurance for California? I have California coverage. And thank you. I hope you can answer my question.
Okay, so yeah, that's the Affordable Care Act marketplace, covered California in California. In terms of that, they go by your income, what you do on your taxes. So whatever arrangement you have with your daughter, if you put that as income on your taxes, then that's how California, the Affordable Care Act determines that. But so yeah, I would talk to someone that does covered California, the ACA in that particular state, just to triple check that. But in terms of your daughter being on disability benefits, if she's receiving SSI, then if she's starting to pay rent, make sure she contacts Social Security and say, hey, I'm having to start pay rent, because that might increase her SSI depending on the particular situation. If she's receiving SSDI on somebody's record, your record, or parent's record, or whatever the case may be, then none of that really matters. But if she's receiving SSI, yeah, make sure she contacts Social Security and say, hey, I have to start paying rent here, and here's how much the rent, and they'll take that into consideration.
Hello, Dr. Weir. My full retirement month is May 1st of next year. I plan on filing in October for my effective retirement date of January 1st. My question is, January, February, March, and April, will those monthly earnings be considered against the monthly limit, or will they be considered against the yearly limit of my full retirement year? Thanks, and appreciate all you do.
Okay, yeah, this is so you're going to be reaching your full retirement age next year. So the months starting with your full retirement age, you can make $1 billion a month. It doesn't matter anymore. The months before, there is an annual limit and a monthly limit, but usually the monthly limit doesn't matter for the year you turn your full retirement age. The yearly limit is this year at $62,160. So January, February, March, I think you said. As long as you stay under $62,160 or whatever it's going to be, it's probably going to be $64,000 for next year. So as long as you're under $65,000 for next year, then you're good. So I've seen maybe one case out of 10 years that people use the monthly limit the year they turn their full retirement age. So yeah, you're good. All right, let's see. Next one.
Hello. My question is, I retired at 60. I got Social Security at age 65. I retired at age 72. Is there a difference in the pay that I would get now? Thank you.
Nope, you're already started your benefits at 65, and no change. Yep, you've already started your Social Security benefits at 65. That'll stay the check, except for obviously COLA, whatever they decide COLA. And if you're continuing to work and paying into Social Security, and that's one of your high 35 years, then it will possibly increase. But other than that, no, it stays the same.
Hello, Dr. Ed. Is there a way to have your doctor request a complete physical that will be covered under Plan B? I have a Medicare supplement. So I'm just wondering if there's a way to get past the wellness exam and have a complete exam. Thank you.
Yeah, for those, yeah, a lot of people think, oh, I've got this Medicare wellness check and everything like that. Oh, great. I've needed a physical for a long time, and guess what? It ain't a physical. It's very, very, very limited. However, you just have the discussion with your doctor, and then you just keep adding stuff on. So there's not like a physical, you're joining the Marine Corps and they make you do the duck walk and all the rest of it. It's not a full physical, but you just have a discussion with your doctor. And if a particular test or something is warranted because of, hey, I've had issues with cholesterol, then they'll do your blood test for you. and you'll say, oh, I feel a problem with my heart and stuff like that when I walk and stuff, and they'll, try to do the treadmill, you have a Medicare supplement, so it's easier. You won't have to get a prior authorization. So yeah, you just talk with your doctor and you just keep adding stuff on that is justifiable as a medical and necessary. And then you turn it into a full physical. That's the trick. But yeah, the Medicare, welcome to Medicare thing. Yeah, the wellness, it definitely isn't a physical, but it's the start of a discussion between you and your doctor to add that stuff. So.
Dr. Ed, I'm 75 years old and still working. I was married for 10 years and now I'm divorced for many years. When I applied for Social Security at 62, they told me that my Social Security was less than half of my ex-husband's. And so they connected our accounts, and I received enough from his Social Security to bring me up to half of his monthly benefit amount, period. That's my understanding, which adds up to about $23 a month that I get from him. Am I doing the right thing? Do I need to apply for benefits just on his record? My son seems to think I should be receiving his full benefit amount, period. It's my understanding that I would not receive that until he passes away, if I'm still alive at that time. So am I doing enough? Have I applied for enough? I also have chronic kidney disease. Should I be applying also for disability on that? Thank you so much.
Okay, so yeah, if you've already filed for benefits on his record, then you're receiving up to half, and you receive exactly 50% of his full benefit amount if you start those benefits at your full retirement age. But if you start them early, then it's reduced. And if you started yours early, then that was reduced as well. So those calculations are in there. So it sounds like you did everything correctly. And you are correct in the sense that you're on his record. So you're on what's called his MBR. And that's what Elon Musk didn't know about when they looked at, supposedly the 200-year-old vampires receiving Social Security. He was looking at a wrong record. He should have been looking at the MBR, but he didn't know the difference. And he's not a man. He didn't come out and say, oops, I made a mistake. So Elon Musk, come on my channel and admit you made a mistake. So anyway, but because you're on his record, on his master beneficiary record, getting that $23 a month, I know it's, not much, but because you're already on there, if something should happen to him, your benefits will automatically switch to survivor benefits. So if that event happens, everything is done automatically. And you won't get that lump sum death benefit, the $255, because you're not married to him and stuff now, but you'll be switched to full, if you are your full retirement age at that time, you'll be switched automatically and you'll receive 100% of his benefit amount. And you won't get both. So if you're receiving, let's say you're receiving $1,000 on your record already, and then his full benefit amount is $2,000, you won't receive $3,000, $1,000 plus $2,000 from him. You'll receive $2,000 because you receive his full benefit amount, $2,000 minus your own, which is $1,000. So you receive $2,000. A lot of people miss that and don't plan accordingly. They think they're going to have both full checks, and that's always been the most difficult conversation I had when I used to do survivor benefits, is tell, I'm sorry, one offsets the other, and they didn't plan for it. So, and in terms of disability benefits, anybody that you think you are unable to work because of a disability, file. Don't wait for medical records. Don't wait till, I'm going to talk to the doctor next week or something like that. No, start the process because it takes too long. However, if you're beyond your full retirement age, then there is no disability anymore. Nobody in America is receiving disability benefits after their full retirement age. Everybody is switched to regular retirement benefits afterward. There's an exception that if you are your full retirement age and you just got your full retirement age a month ago or 2 months ago, you can still file and make the argument that, yeah, I just got around to filing right now, but I actually have been disabled for the past, year or 2 years. And then I became disabled before I started my full retirement age. So that is a possibility. So, all right. I think I got one last question. I think she left 3 videos.
Hi, I'm in Dayton, Ohio. My name is Teresa, and I have a question for Mr. Ed. My head looks terrible. I don't want you to see my head. My husband passed away May 3rd, 2023. I applied for survivor benefits June 15th, 2023. I went. It was about 6 to 9 months before I heard anything. Before my husband passed away, I was receiving disability, and I was doing some part-time working. That said I was getting overpaid, so they started taking the money out of my disability check. And then when my husband passed away, I stopped working. I slowed down working, I say. But then I received some information about overpayment, so I started paying them out, paying them still. And then I received some information that my overpayment had been waived and they were no longer taking the money out. But my question is, during that waiting period for my survival benefits, am I supposed to get that waiting period payment? I've never received that.
Okay. Yeah, that something seems strange there, because waiting 9 months for surviving spouse benefits, there's one possibility. If it's called DWIB, Disabled Widows Benefits, and you're filing for disabled benefits based on a deceased spouse. And because it's a disability benefit, you have to go through all the disability rigmarole, and that takes months and months and months. So I could see that. But if it's just a regular surviving spouse benefit, you turn 60 and you collect survivor, it shouldn't take 9 months. That's unsatisfactory. But either way, if you disagree with the decision, and you say, hey, okay, you started my benefits and I'm getting this much money per month and yada, 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 and beautiful and awesome, but I should have started, 5, 6, 7, 9 months earlier than that. Then you file what's a request for reconsideration appeal. It's an SSA 561. You can see it on my website, or you can just type it into ssa.gov and you can download it. Super, super easy to fill out. Takes you about 5 minutes. And you say, I disagree. My benefits should have started, 9 months early. And they'll check it out and triple check it. And they'll send you a letter and they'll tell you, yeah, you're right. Or they'll say, no, here's the reason why. So definitely do it and let us know how it went. So somebody said, wasn't Mr. Ed a talking horse? Yes, I always say that's the only reason I got my PhD, so I can call myself Dr. Ed. So the whole Mr. Ed thing I used to get in elementary school. Yeah. So, so on that stupid note, all right, we are done for today. We're over an hour. I'll be back again tomorrow, and the day after we're going to have Ari from Chapter answering all your questions about, on October 1st, he's going to be here answering all your questions about Medicare, Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements, and all the rest of it. But you'll have me again tomorrow. We'll come up with another topic and I'll answer a whole bunch of questions. Y'all have a beautiful night, and please, please, please take care of each other. Bye-bye.